production showroom there that they're shutting down.
Got it. And Judah, you got to do that thing with the Facebook group that you did yesterday with the Jerry and Jerry show. All right. We're ready to rock and roll when you're ready. It's the Wednesday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. The show is going to start in a matter of moments. The distinguished gentleman has put his red cape on, he's put his tights on, and he's got the Superman on the chest as we navigate the real estate market that is ever-changing, a real estate market that is, I would characterize it as hot. I would characterize it as inventory movement, wouldn't you?
My name Keith.
How would you characterize it?
It's a up-tempo market. Everything is up-tempo. Everything that you would think is easy turns out not to be so easy. Everything, and that's, it's funny. We're going to talk a little bit today about value proposition, communication, and transparency. This is a market where your agents bring their value prop to the table, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And but I can tell you the Smith clan, the YRP clan.
You guys are humming.
We're a little busy.
Yeah.
A little busy.
Yes Realty Partners is humming, guys. Yes Realty Partners, trusted advisors in the game. Viewers, give the show a like and a share. We'll get rocking and rolling here in a matter of minutes. Ask Keith questions. This is the water cooler of real estate in the Central Virginia and Shenandoah Valley markets, residential and commercial alike. Keith Smith making moves over here. Judah Wickower.
And it's not limited to real estate. Stump Smith here. So stump me with a question.
Stephanie Wells Rhodes of the Interstate Service Company family. Stephanie, you moved some mountains for us yesterday. Thank you kindly for getting us on the schedule.
And that's...
Seriously, Stephanie, and I'll give you props when the camera comes on. What she did with Robbie and American Pest, true professionals.
Yeah. And back to value proposition. That's where values happen, right? We had a situation, we needed to turn it around quickly. There was relationships and values, and we called Bobby and so forth and so on, and then they said, we'll do what we need to do, and they made some magic happen within 24 hours, which is kind of unheard of.
Absolutely, absolutely. Viewers, give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. If you're interested in joining us with the discussion, please do. Kelly Jackson, KJ, Kipasa Chico, Andre Xavier, Woody Fincham, Johnny Ornalis, Sarah Hill Buchensky, Holly Foster, Tim Carson, Joanne Mackey, welcome to the program. Dean Russell, hello, thank you kindly for joining us. The team at Keswick Vineyards, thank you for joining us. Scott Q, a happy YRP client watching the program. Ray Cadell, welcome to the show. Jason Howard, welcome to the show. Real estate investor Tripp Stewart, hello. Bellamy Brown, Michael Pruitt, supervisor, Albemarle County, hello. Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll when you're ready to go on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Let's do it. Tom Powell, Logan Wells, Kalelo, giddy up and get ready.
Oh boy. I was going to take a nap. I guess
Get ready.
not.
Quiet on the set.
Yes, sir.
Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. A pleasure to connect with you through the I Love Seville Network, a show presented by Yes Realty Partners, a show thanks in part to partners like Interstate Service Company, a home's best friend, ISC. I'll tell you what, this market, guys, despite rising rates and tight inventory, is still moving. And it's moving not at a snail's pace. It's moving not at a jogger's pace. It's moving not at a 7-mile pace, but we're talking like a Steve Prefontaine 4-minute, 4.5-minute mile pace. It's moving pretty damn fast.
That just impressed the heck out of me.
Steve Prefontaine.
Have you ever seen the movie?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was there were two. The one with Jared Leto I thought was the best one.
I would agree with that.
Steve Prefontaine, for those that don't know, one of the most famous 1-mile runners in American history, a man who had a troubled life, lived in the spotlight.
But running changed it around. And Oregon, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Judah Wickower behind the camera. The star of our program is Keith Smith, the namesake of Real Talk with Keith Smith. My friend, value proposition is on the tip of our tongues today.
Strawberry, strawberry, strawberry.
He's got a sneeze. Look at the lights. Look at the lights. Look at the lights. The sneeze came in.
Didn't work. I think you've been lying to me for years
The
about
pollen
that.
is SOB, is it not?
Oh, good Lord. But yeah, look, we just, the market is, is an up tempo. We've got limited inventory. We're in, as the sneeze just indicated, we are in the midst of the spring market and a full throttle. Homes are coming on, coming off. 97 went on in the last 7 days, 99 went off. So, as things are coming on, they're coming off. There are some homes that are a little overpriced, right? Price matters. It always does. Just because the market is a little up tempo at the moment doesn't mean you need to price it. You price it right. And there's still multiple offers. There's a ton of cash out in the market right now. It's just this, nothing has slowed down, right, from that end of the perspective. Affordability is kind of going out the window, right? And that's getting worse and worse and worse.
By the day.
But I wanted to kind of pick back up this conversation. I made a little Facebook post, which was a bit sarcastic earlier this morning.
I saw it.
That, we've been talking about this. We're in our 6th week of the announcement of the NAR settlement. I'll just say that whoever's managing their crisis management isn't managing their crisis management. And there's an article, and I included it in Inman, which is decades of NAR membership data has vanished amid enrollment dip.
Explain this to me. The timing seems
somebody
questionable.
So there's 3 things we've been talking about: value proposition, transparency, and communication. So this is the transparency thing. And Judah, I did a last-minute thing and sent them some infographics. But if you can throw up a transparency infographic, I think that would be cool. If you can't, brother, don't worry about it. But so what has happened here is you used to, Jerry, be able to go ahead and look into the NAR website and look back year over year over year, the number of agents, thank you, brother, the number of agents that were part of NAR. That all just vanished. Nobody seems to know why.
National Association of Realtors. For those that are not following, watch Real Talk with Keith Smith. I think this platform has covered this story better, and I sincerely mean this, than any in the country.
I'm just reading.
Real Talk with Keith Smith. He reads everything on this.
I do, and I just happen to be lucky enough to have a microphone and some awesome partners that allow me to do this.
So here's what he's alluding to. National Association of Realtors, the #1 lobbying group in America. The #1 by dollars spent lobbying group in America. This is a lobbyist group that works on behalf of realtors across the country.
Well, it's more than in defense, it's more than a lobbying group. It lobbies well, right? It is an education, right? It's an association.
There's educational offerings.
Right.
The ethics piece seems to have eroded.
I struggle with that.
You got a C-suite that's had turmoil and concerns with treatment of women.
Yep.
Male C-suite at NAR national level. Yep. That's fair to say.
Yep.
And
my faith in them went away when that happened.
Okay, so now a settlement is happening with the Department of Justice leading the charge here, and this settlement is maybe NAR trying to figure out its future. And what Keith is pointing out right now is years of data with membership with NAR has now vanished, which now prevents the average Joe, the average Sally, the sophisticated Joe, the sophisticated Sally, and media from comparing and contrasting membership numbers today and next year with previous years.
So to keep it in perspective, that data went back to 1908.
Okay, and now it's vanished.
According to Inman and the article I read this morning, that information is no longer on the website.
Which, if there's smoke, there's fire theory means they vanished it because they don't want the public to see those numbers dropping.
Look, I don't know the answer to it. I read it earlier this morning.
But that's what you're thinking.
That's not actually what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is this is the time to be uber transparent,
Okay?
right? And if your numbers are dropping, then that's just transparency. That's just transparency. The fact that I can't go look at that as a member, I don't think fosters transparency. So, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Those who watch the show know my story, Yonah and I's story, right? I know what it's like to be put in a similar situation, owing lots of people that you knew personally money, and transparency counts. Be uber transparent, and we haven't got a mea culpa out of them, where it's apparently I, as now a member of X number of decades, can't look at what the membership tracking is. It's just not helpful, and I just don't know. Are we that disconnected? They, meaning whoever's making these decisions, that disconnected that they don't understand that's impactful. I just don't get it.
Or Michael Plecker, I'll get to your comments in a matter of moments. Tom Powell, the founder of Toy Lift, watching the program.
So
we love you, Tom Powell.
I think it's Bellamy Brown, Scott Morris,
Marines?
all Marines
Bellamy watching the program?
will get this, right? When there is this is an ethos that is literally beat into your head from boot camp. When there is a lack of leadership or a vacuum of leadership, you take it. Doesn't matter if you're a private or whatever, a four-star general. When there is on the battlefield in a pretty hot situation, when leadership steps down, people step up. It just feels like everybody's walking on eggshells instead of being this mea culpa. We effed up. We all effed up, right? I effed up. The membership's screwed up, right? Okay, let's recognize it and let's just move on and fix it. So I just think transparency is key. We don't seem to see a lot of it. I've had people tell me, well, aren't you worried about what they're going to do to you? And I was like, first of all, who's they? And second of all, what are they going to do? Shave my head and send me back to Parris Island for boot camp? I mean, what the heck are they going to do, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if anything, you have the leverage.
There's no leverage to have.
Well, there is leverage because you don't have to pay the dues.
No.
You don't have to stay in the association.
Yeah.
They have to prove their merit to you to get your dollars.
Yeah. I get it.
You have the leverage.
But the conversation around that is aren't they worried about, I don't know what they're worried about, that impacting my ability to do business. I can tell you as busy as we've been, it hasn't really happened, right? And back to value proposition, people and transparency. People want folks to be transparent with them. Value proposition. You've got to be able to bring a value to the table. Whatever you are, whatever you're in a business, right? Mm-hmm. Right? I'm hiring you. Mm-hmm. You're going to demonstrate to me your value proposition. I'm hiring you because of the value you bring to the table. You communicate very clear and concise what your value proposition is, and you're transparent about everything.
Yeah.
This isn't rocket science, or as they would say, it ain't brain surgery.
Mike Plecker watches the program.
Unless you're a brain surgeon, and then it's brain surgery all the time.
One of the Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops, Michael Plecker, a realtor with Yes Realty Partners, a man who's been in the new construction game on the builder side, now the mayor of Pantops and Fontana. He says NAR, National Association of Realtors, is a lobbying group, but their job is to protect and promote the value in dealing with a professional realtor and why it is a benefit to the consumer.
So it's interesting. So I'm also a member of the National Home Builders Association, been for a gazillion years.
And a general contractor.
I still have my Class A license. I will never give that up. But
Ray Cadell says, thank you, Keith Smith, and you too, Jerry. We learn things that we don't hear from anywhere else on these shows in this network.
Thank you. Well, coming from him and
we should get Ray on the show.
Ray, you're welcome to the show. Matter of fact, I do want to take a little pivot here, and I know my mother I'm gonna just take a little personal moment here. I know my mother and father watch the show, as they say, on the iPad. I see you on the iPad.
That's great.
That's kind of like the Google, right?
Yeah.
We had a pretty significant loss on Monday of what I called Uncle Ed. He was my second father. Family's in town. I'm probably going to be up in funerals next week, so I probably won't be here. To dovetail into that, so if
Sorry to hear that.
thank you. So, if Ray's got availability, I'm looking for somebody to sit in my seat, probably next Wednesday and Thursday.
Next Wednesday and Friday.
Friday, thank you.
Ray Cadell, if you want to jump in the seat Wednesday or Friday.
Because I do not want my 85-year-old parents driving. I'm chauffeuring them up to the funeral and the wake and stuff like that. So, anyway, when folks like Michael and Ray offer kudos, it's impactful. So, value proposition, right? I'm going to try to do a show and bring a couple of agents on. Ray would be a great one. Michael would be a great one to talk
Michael
about.
Guthrie.
No, I was thinking Michael Plecker.
Michael Plecker.
But Michael Guthrie would be fine too, where we kind of talk a little bit about the value proposition and kind of get that out. But I'm just hung up on this transparency thing. I can't get beyond it. I read this article this morning and got a little peeved, to be honest with you. They just don't get it. What would possess you to do that and not have a transparent reason why? Maybe there is, right? But they're not communicating with anybody if you read this article. So,
Chuck Ramey watching the program, he says these shows are a wealth of information. Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
For the
So while we're staying on that, so the judge did some preliminary approval. I was I'm reading another article from Inman. So look, at the end of the day, this is all going to get triggered. It's all going to happen somewhere around July. We're going to have this decoupling, and the buyer compensation is going to be out.
So what's the excuse for the data being erased?
In the article, they don't answer that. So it's.
Is there a statement from NAR on the data disappearing?
No. So it's just very, very interesting that they would go ahead and remove this information. So we'll see. Look, I think we'll find out maybe from the local associations. I don't know. The state associations might do that a little bit. If you read the article, they're intimating in the article what you're intimating is they just don't want everybody to know how
the membership has fallen. That's clearly the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the consumer is extremely sophisticated. The average Joe is more sophisticated than they've ever been because of this thing called the internet.
I think it was always that way to start with. I'll tell you what, 612 shows has taught me that, right? The people that watch and listen to our shows are way smarter than I'll ever be, right? They are really smart. I get some great information afterward, texts after it. Kudos is always welcome and it's heartwarming. But I really like pushback, and I really like more information, right? Or, hey, Smith, you weren't quite right on that. This is the right answer. And those kind of things I super appreciate. But at the moment, it just rocked my world, and I wanted to kick the show off with that and see if anybody wanted to chime in.
Ricardo Cruz Duran, welcome to the program. Thank you kindly for watching the show. Gary Palmer, hello. Thank you for watching the show. Jesse Rutherford, supervisor. Thank you kindly for watching the show. Travis Hackworth, Southwestern Virginia, watching the program. Eric Parker over at Morgan Stanley, hello, my friend. Thank you for watching the show. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts here. Rates are not impacting sales.
I'm not seeing it.
Rates are not impacting inventory moving.
So what it's doing, or shout out to Ray, it's hurting folks that are at the entry level, because as rates go up, obviously the house that they can afford starts going down. So as rates go up, affordability goes down. What you're seeing a lot of, and I'll take a look the last real quick while you're here in a minute, but just taking a look at the last 71 units that sold in the car footprint, I didn't check this, I can do it live, to find out how much of it was cash and how much of it
Oh, please get us that information.
was that. I'll do this real quick.
Last 71 units that have sold in the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors footprint, what percentage of those units are cash? Viewers and listeners.
There's 72,
72.
27 are cash, 33 were fixed, FHA were 4, other, whatever that is, it was 1, and 7 was VA.
So roughly 40% are cash.
40% are cash, right?
Just under 40%.
Out of the 72, 27 of them were in Albemarle County, 11 of them were in Charlottesville, 8 of them were in Fluvanna, 7 was in Greene, and 14 were in Louisa. Right? Louisa's been kicking butt.
Louisa's booming.
Now,
Louisa 2024 is what Crozet was 15 years ago.
Louisa's been kicking butt. Now,
Louisa's the new Crozet.
this is a big look view on it. It includes all of Louisa, which includes Lake Anna and the other side, on the other side of Lake Anna, which is like in Spotsylvania, so forth and so on. So I could probably dwindle that down to just the car footprint, but what I do is just a quick overview of everything in that. But yeah, Louisa is up to 14 sales, right?
Louisa has an old trail, like Crozet has an old trail. It's called Spring Creek.
So this
and you can make an argument that Louisa has more job opportunity than what Crozet has.
Well, you covered that well. I think it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, 2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, 2 days ago. So it would be helpful to share. So the median sales price in Louisa is now, hang on one second, $374,000. Albemarle County is $580,000. Now, keep in mind, this is attached, detached condos. This is everything lumped in together. Charlottesville is $460,000. Fluvanna's $327,000. Greene is $339,000. And I'm glad to see that up. Greene is starting to pick it up a little bit. I think when we start assessing things at the over mid-year, I think you're going to see Greene pick up the tempo a little bit on it. But 27 were in Albemarle, 11 in Charlottesville. So out of 72, and then the next big double-digit one is Louisa at 14.
How does a land trust navigate a market like this?
Oh, man.
And I know a chair of the land trust.
Yeah.
Happens to be sitting across from me.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Of all the stuff that we're doing, that's the most complicated. It is an extremely complicated transaction. We just put a resale on in Spring Hill Village.
Kyle Miller watching the broadcast.
He's
got a house coming to market in Cascadia that he's working on.
Oh, cool. I had 150 phone calls for an affordable $250,000 resale of a land trust. It's interesting. I sat down, shout out to Dave Norris. I had a meeting with Dave Norris yesterday, who's now the ED for the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors Foundation.
Executive director.
Executive director, thank you. So his role is to grow the foundation. And we were having a conversation about how we can work together as the land trust and the foundation. And here's the reality of it, right? So we're looking in Albemarle County. Let's call it Charlottesville for the heck of it. Charlottesville right now is $460,000 is the median sales price. I know this. In order to meet the 80% AMI, the sales price really, you could, for the right buyer, maybe sneak it up to $250, right? It's somewhere between $225 and $250. It depends on the number of people in the house and so forth and so on. But in order for us to do something, we would have to buy, I'm going to use simple math, we're going to have to buy at $450, sell at $250. So I've got to come up with $200,000 worth of subsidy versus Lake Monticello. We're doing 2 houses out there for about $130,000 to $140,000 worth of subsidy. We're putting 2 houses, two 225 homes. Well, actually, one's 215 and one's 225 out there. So what we're starting to do, just like the market's doing, Jerry, we're starting to look out and where we can best utilize our subsidy dollars. So basically, I can, for $200,000 in Fluvanna County, Lake Monticello, I could probably do 3 homes. Probably, if the math works, I was like 2.5 or something like that. For the sake of a talk show, let's say a 3 show versus 1 in Charlottesville. So my money, my subsidy money, goes so much further out there, and it's not like we've got a $20 million, $30 million pot of, which I wish we did. But that's what we're looking to do, and that's what's going on.
Are you still getting? Is local government still receptive to what you guys are doing?
Unbelievably receptive. Unbelievable. We've built a brand, right? It took a lot of years, but we've built a brand. The problem is I need the money, right? Everybody loves them. Everybody.
Isn't that part of being receptive?
I think it's two sides. There's two, Receptive is understanding it, believing in it, and feel that this is one of the silver BBs within the silver buckshot, right? It's not the silver bullet. The other side of receptive is, and I'm just going to say it publicly, I don't understand why I can't raise $5 to $10 million overnight in this town. I don't get it. We're sitting in one of the most
wealthiest
affluent areas, not in the state, but in the country. A fellow land trust, Maggie Walker in Richmond, in one day raised $5 million. Why can't we do that?
How did they raise that $5 million?
They went to R.J. Reynolds and they wrote a check. We don't have an R.J. Reynolds.
I mean, we have an R.J. Reynolds.
It's UVA.
Yeah. We have an R.J. Reynolds.
Yeah, it's for UVA. Michael Payne, it's UVA,
yeah.
Right?
We have an R.J. Reynolds.
Yeah, and look, in fairness to them, they're at the table, right? They're dedicating land, right? Should they pay taxes? Should they not pay taxes? I'll leave that for another day and another show. But they are at the table, right? They are bringing substantial amount of land, which is generally the big problem. The other issue is, if I'm building an affordable housing unit, all that stuff, and when 25% of it is regulatory expenses, it's pretty hard to build something affordable. It's just, they're just in here, and we're going down this, I think, if this doesn't change, and if we're not able to produce more units for everybody, this divide is just going to get bigger.
Oh,
and
it's
bigger.
the chasm.
I don't know how you close it.
The chasm is as big as it's ever been. Jon Snow, hello. Alex Serpy, hello. Jimmy Who, hello.
And I dedicated an obscene amount of time.
I know you do. I know you do. Annie Argo, hello. Welcome to the broadcast. The Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, one watching the program as we speak, have shown indications of expanding the developmental area, although that is early stage.
Look, I think, and again, I've been doing this for 35 years. I've been dealing with politics, local politics, for 35 years. That was a significant step that they took. It may not. You and I probably want things to go much faster than they are.
I mean, right now it's talk.
But to do that in a public forum.
I think that's the influence that Mr. Michael Pruitt, and he should come on the program here, has had already.
It's that.
On the supervising, on the dais.
And you know that I don't generally toot my own horn. I don't like doing it. But that had a lot to do with having Ned and Diantha on the show and having this conversation, having Neil on the show and having this conversation. And it's also private conversations with elected officials that I have, that Neil have, that you have, that look, if you really want to do something, you need to expand that. And I find it really strange that, at least from a regulatory perspective and a conversation perspective, the city and Albemarle County, let's say it's somewhat receptive. They're at least talking about things, right? These outside counties, these rural counties do not want any new development. And I just was...
Fluvanna certainly does it. Greene County's at its capacity. I don't know if that's the case for Louisa.
I just read it. I was doing work and watching a Greene County thing. Greene County denied a commercial rezoning on the intersection of 33 and 29.
I mean, Greene County's got infrastructure concerns across the board.
Well, first of all, I don't know the details of it. I'm assuming where I think it is. I'm assuming they got plenty of infrastructure there to go ahead and do that. But
I mean, how many times has water been in the forefront for Greene County lately?
So, water volume has never been an issue with that. What the issue is pressure.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
And don't you need pressure to get your water?
And those are fixable things.
Right?
Yeah, but those are very fixable.
I get that.
Right. But how this works, depending on the rezoning, is it you negotiate with the developer. I don't know that Neil would know it. He's in the middle of a board meeting.
He's actually watching the Rivanna sewer meeting right now, virtually.
Yeah. So he would know much more about this. I didn't get it. This was just a text from an engineer that was part of the project that texted me this morning.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but so generally what happens here is part of the negotiations on the rezoning is you get the developer to pay for the improvements and then convey the improvements over to the jurisdiction. That's the normal path on this kind of stuff.
He's in the middle of the Rivanna Sewer, Water and Sewer Authority. Speaking of water, meeting right now, the distinguished Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum.
Yeah. So in any event, I just found that odd is that, where is Greene County going the way of, I'm not approving commercial, I'm not approving rooftops, but my budget's climbing. So how is that math going to work at some point?
Can you brought up commercial there. Do you want to talk or pontificate on commercial at all? You're working on something now, commercial.
I am working on, I've got an engineering firm looking for a facility to put its engineers and conference room and office space, and it's hard to find. That's a tease for Friday.
Okay.
So Friday, I've got Woody Fincham, and I'll have to check my text here to remember the person's name, but there's a commercial appraisal coming in, and Woody Fincham, and we're going to focus a little bit more on commercial on it, since I'm in the middle of a couple transactions. Kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that and the lack of it, but they need 2,000 square feet. They need a conference room. The layouts has to be pretty specific to them, because if you've been around engineering firms, there's like a bullpen, and then the PE, in this case, it's a physical.
2,000 square feet.
2,000 to 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
But the layout's got to be just right.
Okay.
Plenty of parking, because they've got but it's a hard thing to find. It's hard, and it's not cheap, I can tell you that much.
What are we talking ballpark? Good morning, Kevin Yancey.
We're looking at one in Pantops that is, I can tell you here in a second. If you give me a minute, I'll actually literally tell you the one we're looking.
That has a boatload of availability. There's some availability on 29 North, but it sounds like you have very specific criteria here.
It needs to be in a specific location and all that. Roughly $30 a square foot.
That's not cheap.
For 2,003 square feet.
2003 times 30?
That's 5,380.
Divided by 12, 5,000. Is that before CAM?
No.
That includes CAM?
We got CAM at 2.5.
At $2.50 a square?
So we need to explain.
Common area maintenance?
There you go.
We're geeking out over here. You're saying it's 30 a square at 2,000 square feet. Let's just call it 2,000 even. That's 60,000.
I'm just telling you, I'm looking at the number right
60,000 divided by 12 is 5,000 a month. And then
5,000.
CAM is common area maintenance.
Well, no, that's included.
CAM is included on that?
29.75 plus 250 is $5,383 a month.
That's not cheap.
Yeah.
How long's the term?
We're still negotiating that. Don't want to.
What kind of kicker each year?
Yep. So we probably ought to explain what these terms mean. Let's do this on Friday. I'm in the middle of negotiations.
Okay.
I can't.
I'm curious.
I can't.
I'm very curious about this stuff.
I know that. I'm in the middle of negotiations, so I don't want to shoot myself do a Smith, which is open mouth, insert foot. So I'm not going to do that. We're in the
I
middle
love
of,
this man.
We're in the middle of negotiations.
So commentary,
You're trying really
I'm
hard.
not trying. I'll stop. For those that are watching the program
The
here,
normal life of a lease is somewhere between 3 and 10, depending on the
the use and the space.
The use, the space.
Yeah. Location.
Location.
How long it's been vacant.
How long it's been vacant. Is it vacant? Is it not vacant? There's a whole other component to that. And this kind of dovetails into my value prop transparency and communication, because if you read Inman and all these other folks, we've been talking about this for a while. What we're working with and negotiating over here is commercial, is ultimately what residential real estate is going to look like. Because we're looking at a piece, as reason I don't want to cross too many lines here, right?
Rob, I'll get to your comment here.
It's not in the MLS, right?
I can answer your question, Rob, but I'll throw it to Keith. Go ahead, Keith.
It's not in the MLS.
I mean, most of them aren't.
A huge percentage, couldn't tell you what it is. But before we open up the door, I'm negotiating with the agent on the other side for my compensation. And my client, we have an agreement. My client is very clearly understands that if the landlord isn't paying, then it's going to have to be, and everybody understands it is completely transparent. Back to the number end of things, that number doesn't include demo and upfit.
There's no allowance? No TI?
We're negotiating that.
Okay.
So tell people what TI is.
Generally, when you're doing a commercial deal, well, not generally. This can be something that you negotiate within a commercial deal. The landlord allows or provides an allowance that can be used to build the space to spec. And how you see TI negotiated, you either see it with a lump sum or the landlord using his or her preferred contractors to do the work, or a lump sum provided to the tenant, or I've seen it where it's just free rent, where they're like, don't pay rent for 2, 3, 4 months, whatever you negotiate.
Or the monthly, the square foot price increases and is rolled into the length of the lease.
Right.
3 to 5 or what, and generally depending on the upfit also depends on how long. So
I saw one the other day where it was instead of the TI, we're just going to give you 3 months no rent.
yeah. So there's
But the landlord, or what do you say over there, Smith?
yeah. So
The landlord said you have to use preferred subcontractors, and this is the short list, which I have no problem with that.
well, that makes sense, right? Because it's their property. They want people in there
That they trust.
that they trust to work
Yeah.
in their property. But you're 100% right. There's different, but the conversation we're having right now is ultimately how residential real estate transactions. No, they're going to have to happen.
I mean, it should have been all along.
Well, back to the transparency thing, back to the communication thing, and back to the value proposition thing. We're having a value proposition, transparency. In full transparency, I can't be too transparent because we're negotiating. Right?
Totally understand.
Right? And communication and how you communicate with everybody involved. The agent on the other side, they're going to have to borrow money to do the upfit, and how are we negotiating that? Right? There's all these multiple layers of complexities. And I guess that's what we're starting to show off. I'm starting to see regular residential transactions become more complicated. And I've been doing this a long time. Usually when the market kind of gets this way, or the market gets a little...
Hairy. Let's call it hairy.
No, when there's things in the market that, like this settlement, that's kind of unsettling, right? Oh, you like that, huh?
That was good.
That was pretty good.
That's
Huh?
really good.
I thought that, I was actually pretty proud of
You're
myself.
on point today.
I was unsettling. I can't even say it again. I know,
you effed it up the second time. Leave it alone. It was so good.
You'd think after 612
It's
shows
so
I'd learn.
good.
I'd learn. I'm not that smart. So there you go, Smith. Get it back. Yeah, so you're going to start seeing that kind of stuff, and that's what's happening. Transactions are being just squirrely is another word, and it requires value proposition,
Nuance,
skill,
experience.
and nuance to kind of get it through.
Sophistication, problem solving.
And what problem solving, and when do you pull the trigger, when don't you pull the trigger?
Right.
And all this stuff that we do on my side of the table impacts somebody else.
Yeah.
right? So
Rob Neal's in the space. He has this question. Is
Yeah.
that $2.50 CAM an estimate to be reconciled annually or a hard fee?
don't know, we're negotiating it. That's CAM is a negotiable. Usually it's not, but it can be negotiable how you
I mean,
roll it in. It's actually low. I think it's a low number.
generally CAM is not negotiable because if there's
I've
other
negotiated.
tenants in the shopping center, if you negotiate the CAM, then if word gets out to the other tenants in the shopping center that you moved on that number, then those tenants are going to be pissed because they're paying the number that you negotiated on.
Unless you're taking the whole building, right? Then it's negotiable, and I've done that before, right? When I just did a transaction in Richmond. It was like that. That took the whole building. So we negotiated the CAM.
And generally, CAM.
You like this stuff.
Well, I love this stuff. This is
You
my,
love
this,
commercial.
This is what that's how we do it. Generally, CAM is not a profit center for the landlord, or at least that's how it's conveyed to the tenant. Now, if the landlord has a vertically integrated operation where the property manager and or the landscapers, et cetera, are a part of their operation or their empire or their comings and goings, then it can be a profit center.
Well, it's negotiations, right? Because if you make it too high,
You make it too high, you're not going to fill the space.
You're not going to fill the space.
I mean,
right?
deals have been lost over CAM.
Deals fall apart over CAM all the time.
Because your price per square could be this, and then next thing you know, your CAM is this. And,
I mean,
look at the
I'm
CAM
looking-
at Barracks or If you want to look at CAM and how it can impact things, consider CAM at Barracks Road Shopping Center.
yeah, I don't know what that is.
I mean,
I'm negotiating another
Talking-
one at 4.
in Barracks?
No.
Okay, I've seen CAM north of 8.
Yeah. And so, it impacts the deal, right?
I mean, you talk, guys, CAM at 8 a square foot, and you're talking, say, 2,000 a square right there. I mean, you're talking some money.
That's usually how that works.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking substantial money, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a back to the value proposition, right?
I mean, that adds an extra $1,300 to the lease at a 2,000 a square.
And you get, now. So think about those of the agents and people that are watching this that are not geeking out like you and I on commercial stuff. Think of CAM as an HOA fee, a POA fee, right? Or a condo fee, right? It pays for maintenance of the building. It depends if you've got, if it's a staffed building, it pays for that. It pays for snow removal, yada, 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 yada. And it depends, right? So, I mean, if we're still geeking this out on this, sometimes I'll negotiate my fee and carve out the CAM, right? What you'll pay me is on the what I negotiate on the square foot price for you, not the CAM, because as to your point, unless I'm taking a whole building, then I'll negotiate that. Generally, that's just a fixed cost on it, and I don't charge my fee based on that. It's on what we negotiate.
The commission is not tied to CAM.
Oh, I've seen deals where they are. Of compensation, I've seen deals where they are. And it's back to the point of value proposition, transmission, and communication, right? And back to the point that this has always been negotiable. This has always been negotiable. We just either some people never did it, never talked about it, was never transparent about it, never communicated about it, is how we got to where we are at the moment.
Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts here. I'm actually organizing a termite inspection, literally, while doing the phone right now. So you know how you occasionally, from time to time, you need me to carry the show here. Here's
I got to
15
carry the
seconds
show.
here.
So this is about you today, huh? Yeah.
Well,
so,
it's also about you.
yeah. So it's about us.
Yeah.
Well, let's do us. Yeah. So back to the I've been harping today the value proposition, the transparency, and the communication, and I'm going to ask my friend Judah over here, maybe if he wouldn't mind, is just kind of rotating some of those 3 shots through there as I'm kind of having a conversation here. But it's like anything. We're talking about this commercial, residential. We're negotiating residential deals, commercial deals. We're doing all this kind of great stuff. It's all about this communication. So you're on the phone working on something that ISC helped us out on. And the reason it helped out on it is because we brought our value proposition to the table to say, okay, I've got relationships here. We need to do this. We're up against the wall. Can you please help us out? And there was never even Robbie, there wasn't even I got to think about it. There was done. That's value proposition. So when stuff starts hitting the wall, and it always hits the wall, it never not hits the wall, what we as professionals bring to the table is to navigate the proverbial you know what that proverbially hits the fan, right? And how you navigate that and how you communicate that is what the value proposition we bring to the table.
I'm actually very, you were talking about commercial, I'm very excited for the
Friday show.
Well, for the Friday show, absolutely. I'm also very excited for the upside and future of commercial locally. I haven't seen it soften to the extent you've seen it in other markets. And anything, it's picking up tempo. James Watson, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, James.
Lonnie Murray, hello. Heather Walker, hello.
And that's the conversation we're going to have Friday with the appraisal experts. But what you're going to hear, I think, is 100% right. Nationally, commercial is kind of soft.
Yeah.
Multifamily is definitively getting...
Has headwinds.
We overbuilt.
Yeah.
The proverbial we overbuilt, right? And it's interesting.
But this market continues to be insulated.
Correct. So the we, nationally, multifamily overbuilt. We not only overbuilt multifamily, we overbuilt luxury apartments and facilities. My daughter's staying in a place when she's doing the shoot in Philly in one of these all-inclusive. It has furniture, you know.
High-rise amenity, full service.
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? It's unbelievable, right? It's got a theater in it. $5,000 a month for one bedroom. $5,000 a month.
I play squash with a Darden student. He's in his second year, and he and his better half are moving to Manhattan, to Chelsea. A one bedroom in Chelsea, $6,500 a month.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing.
That's in Chelsea, though.
Yeah, it's in Chelsea. I mean, it's Tony.
And you walk to wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Right? You got to...
It's full service. You have a doorman in the building. You have a gym in the building.
No, I'm talking about...
There's also dues. You know, there's also
Yeah.
Gym fee, amenity fee.
But it's Manhattan.
It's Manhattan. It's getting closer
And
to
you
7,000.
walk down and you go across the street, you got probably some of the best food places. I mean, you don't have to walk nowhere. Is he remote working or?
Well, he's 2 to 3 days at home. She works for a consulting firm and will be on the road. But, you know, here's an interesting thing that came up with the brokerage fees, even for tenants, finding rentals, brokers.
Yeah.
They're clipped 15%.
Yeah. Which is not normal here, by the way.
Due up front.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On top of first, last, and security at the place.
Yeah.
So you're talking about something that's base $6,500 a month.
Yep.
$6,500 times 3. They want a 2-year lease.
Yep.
You're talking $19,500 upfront for the place alone, plus the $6,500 times 24 months, 2-year lease. You're talking $156,000 plus the broker fee.
On top of that number.
On top of that, $23,400. So remember, $23,400 times 3 plus $23,400. You're talking $42,900 for a 2-year lease in Chelsea and a 1-bedroom.
So how they manage that in New York is like we manage commercial. Residential leasing here from a compensation perspective, $100, $200. We don't do that here. To your point though, we're underbuilt, right? And again, I'm looking forward to Saturday to this conversation. Here's what I think is going to impact multifamily in our area, future multifamily, unless the firm that is doing this work has cash to deploy, to build, to acquire and build. We would call it A&D, acquisition and development. And they've got to borrow money to do that because of the nationwide softening. This is commercial lenders that I'm talking to. It's becoming really hard to get.
To get the money.
Really hard. And it's now super expensive. And by the way, there's a little ticking bomb going out there on commercial and multifamily. The ones that kind of, when was the Fed at zero? When did it start? 5 years ago? Something like that, right? When does commercial loans reset?
I mean, every day.
5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
5 to 10 years. So there's commercial loans out there that were at this 0, 1 point, 2 point kind of thing that is now, because generally commercial loans are 1 to 2 points or 3 points over whatever prime is, right? So when prime was 0, you're paying like 2 to 3%. Now I'm at my 5th year, my 7th year, depending on what you negotiated, and now I get reset just like an ARM, and now I'm at 10 or 12. So just do the math on that.
Well, and compound the reset with vacancy levels upticking.
Well, that's why vacancy is upticking,
Yeah.
because now all of a sudden I can't afford this because, unless you got a special relationship and the bank, whatever it is. But under general rule of thumb, it's generally between 1 to 3 points over whatever the heck prime is at this point. So if I'm at 2 or 3 and I'm resetting again, wait till that start happening. You're going to see vacancies. And again, I'm really curious on, if they're seeing that out in the commercial space.
Locally or outside the market?
Whatever they.
I had this conversation with an investor client, and I mentioned to the investor client, a lot of the people in this position, commercial positions locally, are not tied to prime, not when compared to national. Because a lot of the folks that have some of the Primo holdings around here are either in a cash position. Yeah, they're not. It's a different market.
So it depends on the who.
Yeah.
Right. And if I have a ton of equity and a ton of cash, it's highly negotiable, right? Unlike residential, right? Residential usually rallying around Fannie, Freddie, loans are sold. Most commercial loans, not all of them, most commercial loans are held by the lender, right? So now they have some room to negotiate. They're not selling loans out. They don't have the regulatory oversight that,
Rob Neal, most commercial loans will balloon 2025 to 2029 for the common 7 to 10 year ARM that were originated 2018, 2021. He also says now HUD-backed is 30-year money, but it is hard to manage for operators. SOFR is the current preferred index governing commercial debt. That's a guy in the space right there.
Yeah. It's been a while since I personally borrowed development money, so we used to tie it to prime back then. But yeah, the bottom line, he's echoing what I'm saying, is there's going to be these resets. And the who matters, right? So it depends on how they get reset. So who knows? But at the moment, there's just not for very specific niches, there's no product available. There's a lot of, maybe Class A space, maybe there's some of that. We're going to talk about that, like I said, on Friday, which brings up, if some Albemarle County Board of Supervisors are still watching, I don't know how much impact it is going to have, but allowing residential and some of the other zoning ordinances, such as commercial or industrial, may be helpful, right? We just don't have a lot of it, right? We don't have a lot of vacant. Certain areas have a ton of vacant retail space or Class A space, and they're starting to convert those, right? And because it's low-hanging fruit, you got utilities there, infrastructure's there, so forth and so on.
Sarah Hill Buchensky, she's in the game. She's a realtor. She says this: I think a lot of the discussion of negotiable commission rates was not in the mainstream because as agents, we did not show up at a listing appointment and say, hey, my fee is negotiable. We stated the services we provided and our fee for those services.
Yeah, and some of us said it was negotiable, right? And some of us didn't. Here's an example of it. This is an article I read earlier. Please don't hold me to the numbers, but they were substantial. D.L. Horton, probably the largest home builder in the United States. I read a report that they gave out. Bless you.
Me. Thank you.
Strawberry.
That one snuck up on me.
Somewhere north of 60%. I cannot remember the exact number of it, but it was substantial. That they surveyed their buyers that used a real estate agent, and they didn't know that the real estate agent got compensated. So what happened was, real estate agent turned over to the builder, walked away, house got built, real estate agent got a check. 60, 70%, I can't remember the number on it, of those buyers did not know that the builder was compensating the agent, which tells me that they didn't do a buyer broker agreement, right? They didn't introduce. I know, because I'm a recovering developer and builder, I love new construction, right? And I'm at construction meetings, I'm doing walkthroughs, right? We're at selections, we're walking our client through the process. I just love it. Many people don't know, these percentage of people that really maybe didn't have an engaged agent on the other side, maybe not known that they were eligible to get a home inspection and went through the process without a home inspection. But that is demonstrating part of the problem we had, that there was this lack of transparency, communication, and saying, look, Jerry, I'm going to help you with new construction, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be at every meeting, I'm going to walk through it, I'm going to randomly check the project and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm going to report into you and let you know what's going on. That's the communication portion of it. So much of that never happened, and that's why we're in the position we're in. I still think, and I will continue to say this is a good reset. I think this is healthy for the industry.
I think people like you and Yona and the team at YRP and the pros are going to get...
Or anybody who's watching right here.
The pros, I think you guys are going to get a boatload more market share.
And
I had this conversation with Gary Palmer the other day. I think you guys are going to get a boatload more market share.
The people that have the skill sets to do that will do well. I mean, I'll leave names out of it.
The reset needed to happen.
I've got a client that's interested in a substantial house, substantial price point. I have a half a dozen phone calls into this particular listing agent that has not returned my phone call yet.
Sorry.
So I don't get that. I've got 6 phone calls, 3 or 4 texts. Hey, got a client interested in the house. I need to chat with you. Has not returned my phone call. That to me is...
Well, how do you manage that?
You know, you just keep on throwing, against the wall, and you keep on talking.
I mean, is it to the point of having to corner an in-person meeting?
Yeah, well, so I'm a different animal because I come from the development building contracting world. I'm used to like subcontractors not showing up and not returning phone calls, and I got really good at finding people and met them on a job site and say, hey, I've been trying to call you, we need to talk. You just figure out a way to get the communication out. Now, some agents, they won't talk to you until you put something in writing and send it to them.
Explain that.
That's just the way they do their business.
But explain that.
I don't know how to explain that. It's just some people, that's what they do, right? And I'm okay with that if you communicate, right? Number 3, if you communicate to the world that I thank you for your text, please submit an offer, then we will talk. Cool, then I know what the rules are, I know what I need to do, and I go forward. But I don't even get that. So, anyway. I unloaded a little personal frustration.
I appreciate that. Give them a promotion, a tease, indication of what's happening on Friday, because this one's exciting.
Yeah, well, it's exciting for me and you because we love commercial, but where I felt it's important that if you read articles and read stuff and listen to what we've been talking about, you're going to start seeing residential transactions looking more like commercial. So let's talk a little bit about commercial. Let's talk about how these transactions go. We kind of did it a little bit today. We're going to bring Woody Fitcham, which always knocks it out of the ballpark.
Woody Fitcham, Fitcham & Associates.
And
fantastic appraiser.
I can't remember the commercial appraiser's name, but she will be here.
Has she been on previous shows?
She has been on previous shows.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, I just can't remember the name. It's escaping me at the moment. And I could probably look at my phone and figure it out real quick. But we're going to talk about that and talk about the commercial project. And You know, and by the way, agents out there that are struggling, maybe not making as many sales as they want, you know, sometimes diversification works. You might want to consider tapping into the commercial market a little bit.
Viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. I think I have that name in my
I'm trying to find it myself right now. And
on my text right here. She's been on the program and she was absolutely fantastic out of the Richmond area.
Yep.
Making the drive up here. All right, so Friday's edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith is going to be red hot. You're not going to want to miss this. The show is archived for those who are asking on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, where the show is archived. Judah Wickhauer, the man behind the show. Click the Partners tab on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, and you will see the best of the best when it comes to getting you to the closing table and beyond. Keith Smith.
First name is Heather. I can't remember her last name. First name is Heather. I remember that. I just can't remember her last name. And that doesn't mean she isn't awesome. It just means Smith can't remember the last name. This is going to be a good opportunity. So if you want to, and you're in the
Heather Mull.
There you go.
M-U-L-L.
If you're in the real estate market and you want to kind of look at some options, maybe it'll be a little bit of a commercial masterclass on Friday.
You were on point.
It's the coffee.
You were on point.
It's the coffee.
Judah Wickhauer, thank you. Guys, we'll see you at the I Love CVille show at 12:30, an hour and change away. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Value proposition, transparency, and communication. Last time for today.
Keith, that was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.